the world is geared up for a successful life, not a satisfied life. And when you kind of make that switch and go, you know what, I think I'd prefer to just have a satisfied life. That's very counter to what everyone else is doing, and very, I would say, subversive, mainly because I'm not exactly sure that that's the right, I'm using that word right there. But it is a little bit revolutionary. And you would be going against the stream if you kind of go, yeah, satisfaction. That's the thing that I'm going to go for that rather than success. Because maybe satisfaction for you is doing something that, from the way the world is geared up, is not very successful. Maybe you want to work in a bookshop. And maybe you never even wanted to work in a bookshop, but you find yourself working in a bookshop. Um, and you really like the people there, and you kind of like, you're not even a big reader, but you kind of like the people who come in, and you like the books, and you like organizing them, and maybe you read a little bit, but you don't earn a huge amount of money. But you just really like going to the bookshop every day, and you like the people. There's a little place you can go for lunch, and there's a little place you go and get your tea or coffee, and you just like the whole thing. You like your little going to work, you like your commute, you like coming home. You're kind of okay with where you live. Maybe it'd be nice if it was a little bit bigger or a little bit swankier or whatever, but mostly it's okay. And you're just happy. Okay. And then you catch up with some friends that you had when you were in school. And they're like doctors and lawyers and test pilots, and I'm thinking of, coders. They're making like 5 and 6 times the amount of money you are. And they've got nicer things, nicer houses, nicer cars. You don't even have a car. It's quite hard then to go, I'm satisfied. Then it sounds like you've just settled. No, I'm going for a satisfied life, and I'm satisfied. And the feeling of like, but you're not very ambitious, are you? It's like, but I'm satisfied. That's what I mean about it's kind of revolutionary. But the thing is, like, to hold your own counsel about that. You're the only one who gets to look in the mirror, and you don't know what's going on for those people, for your friends and the other people, the people who are the lawyers and accountants and test pilots and whatever. If they're satisfied, fantastic. But you'll find, and I have found, when you scratch the surface with a lot of people who are focused on success, that there is a thing built into success of you can never be happy with your success, because then you'll stagnate. You always have to be, going for the next thing, going for the next thing. I remember a salesman telling me years ago, big organization. I just heard this on a tape, actually. He wasn't telling me directly. And he was saying that all his salesmen had reached this level of this goal that he'd set for them. And they'd all done it. And they were all super happy, and they got the big bonus and whatever. And he took them out on his boat on purpose. And none of them were into boats that much. So he took them out on his boat. I don't know how big it was, but there was enough for like 10 people to be on it. And it was a kind of a luxury boat. And he took them on it with the express purpose of making them want a boat, because he knew that the level that they'd reached, they would, in his words, stagnate at that level, that he had to set them up with a new thing to aim for. And the next new thing was a boat, because he knew they couldn't afford a boat. None of them could afford a boat. So as a kind of a carrot or something to aim for, he brought them all out in his boat. They all went out in the boat. None of them were interested in boats when they left the harbour. By the time they got back, they all wanted to buy a boat. And he was like, right, they're all going to hit my new targets that I set for them. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But it does put you in a perpetual state of not being able to appreciate what you've got. And so you could say those men, while they were getting more and more money and wealth and objects, they were in a continual state of not being satisfied. And I'm don't I don't want to live like that. And if you're happy in your bookshop, maybe you don't want to live like that as well. So if you're out having dinner with all the guys who want to buy a boat, you are going to seem like you've settled. They'll be like, "What are you talking about? How can you just be an employee? How can you just go to the same place every day and no prospects for expansion? And the thing is, like, to look at if that is going to be what it is for you, and you'd be satisfied with that. Like, there's a whole thing on this whole subculture of cottagecore. I always think the cottagecore people are really into being satisfied. They can spend hours just arranging things in beautiful little arrangements, and you can tell they don't make a lot of money, unless they're doing great on YouTube or something like that. But the people who do great on YouTube are kind of the exceptions. For every person who's doing great on YouTube doing the thing they love, there's a lot of people who are heading in that direction as well. But the cottagecore people, anything you can just buy off the shelf, they're not that interested in. They'd rather make their paper and make these handwritten, beautiful letters and seal them with the wax seal. All hugely time consuming, And you're like, how do you have time to do anything else? And how do you have time to get ahead and succeed? And they're not interested in it, But you can tell they all seem very satisfied, Everything, they're just really clicked into this thing of, this gives me a lot of pleasure. Making this paper, getting the bits, getting the wax, finding the special wax to make, getting a quill and learning how to do calligraphy. They're just really happy to do all that kind of thing. And if they could just do that all the time, they'd be very satisfied. So this idea of success, you can only really talk about success in terms of, did I get a better car? Did I get a better job? Can I sort of say this income? And all of which other people can look at and go, oh yeah, you're doing pretty good, aren't you? Externally. No one can see into your soul and see whether you're satisfied or not. But see into your mind and your heart and your soul, like this meme says. That's between you and you. So you could have all the great things and look in the mirror and go, I'm so miserable. Or I'm so under pressure, I don't have time to enjoy any of this stuff, Yeah, I got the boat, but I never get time to go out in it, So this is beautiful, I think, this idea of a satisfied life. It's so good to turn over inside. Am I satisfied? What? And then, like, no, I'm not. Like, maybe if you were the boat person going, the person wanting to get the boat, am I satisfied? What an alien concept. Let me think about that for a minute. No, I'm not. It's like, well, do you want to be? Like, well, what would it look like? Or maybe you're in the bookshop. Are you satisfied? Mostly. Like, well, what would being completely satisfied look like? What would it feel like on the inside? It's a good question.